Greetings viewers, this is a Norton High Rider, the first mass-produced custom motorcycle in the world, and its the sales brochure, the model that was sitting on it, the blonde one, best model of the decade or something, whatever. We're going to build a Norton. Sporty's finished, so Norton is next. Pretty nice, isn't it? I like it. I like it. People didn't like it. I like everything people didn't like. People didn't like FXRs. They call them the red-headed stepchild. And now you're super cool if you got one. So, to my High Rider, one day you will be cool. I got the proper seat there. I had another one made up, but I would like to talk about Norton gearboxes, because that's what I'm going to do first. This bike has only been pulled apart. There was nothing wrong with it. It's a low mileage, genuine bike. It was only pulled apart because there's a bearing in this gearbox that apparently falls to bits and it'll lock up your back wheel and you're going to die and smash your bike and everything. So that has to be fixed. And apparently the original pistons, the top's going to come off them and disintegrate your engine and you're going to crash and die, and that has to be fixed too. So that's what we're doing. And then we'll put it all back together and give it a nice polish up. All right, stay tuned. Norton gearbox. Oh, by the way, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Don't copy me. But you'll see my mistakes. Okay. So, got it this far apart. This was pretty easy. It had already been pulled apart. I bought this bike in bits. I assumed to do the same thing. Everything looks nice. This is a very nice motorbike. All the gears look fine. Everything looks fine. Oh, I just went and had a bit of a text with Mr. Google, because I didn't even know which bearing it is. It's the inner lay shaft bearing that gives the trouble, and it's the ones that made in Portugal. So, and I have to get this, the rod that holds the selector fork, so I have to undo that, which is supposed to have flats on both sides, but the guy went for lunch the day that, oh no, there's flats up the top. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Alright, stay tuned. Look what I found, more parts. That looks like a gearbox gasket, doesn't it? This is all my gearbox stuff. This is a full gearbox rebuild kit on it. So the bearing that I put on here is the wrong bearing. There's a trap for young players. So I wouldn't mind betting that bearing that goes on the lay shaft is the same size as the wheel bearing. I wrecked them. Okay. Wish me luck. So now I get it. This is why these bearings fail in the Norton gearbox. So this is a later. This is just a ball bearing. I don't know if you can see. Can you see there's a rivet there holding the metal cage together? Right in the middle, and underneath this metal cage will be a ball each side with a rivet in the middle. Now, if I've just pulled the other, I found out where the other bearing goes. Now, if you can see, if we can see well enough. Anyhow, this one in the middle here is just pressed together. It doesn't have the rivet. So that's why it would have fallen apart. And I read where it wasn't really the factory's fault. They weren't given the proper equipment. Anyhow, we move on. We're good. So look, it's a roller bearing. But just to mess with me head, they threw in another one of these other ball bearings. Oh, what that's for. But I'm thinking this is the upgrade for the lay shaft. Which it would be stronger, yes it would be. Okay, I better read how to install it. So, I put the gearbox all together, worked nice, changed all the gears, beautiful. Then I pulled it to bits because there's a few things I wasn't happy with. So now I have rectified them and I've just found another problem. This main bearing is, I would call that a fall-in fit. If you put it vertical, got it in the right spot, had it all square, it would just drop in. I've tried the new bearing, it is a fraction tighter, so you would have to push that one in, but it's still quite loose. And if you look at the old bearing and the new bearing, if you see the old one, it's actually quite polished. I'd say that's spun. That has spun in the housing, which that's not good. We don't want that. This whole bike's like brand new. It's very low mileage. And I would say Norton machining is very good. I'm comparing it to Triumph. Except for this, I'd say a bearing like this should be half a thou, 1 thou interference fit. And I'd say this is half a thou clearance. So, long story short, I've cleaned it all up and I'm going to put some glue in there, some thread locker. I'm going to lock that bearing in. And I don't have the proper stuff, but I've just got some thread locker. That'll do. That's where it works best too, like half a thou. It'll stop that spinning. And I've cleaned it all up with brake cleaner and got it all ready. Then I had another issue. Where's that fucking thing? Ah, this one. Where the bush, there's an inner and an outer bush. Pushed in from that side, pushed in from that side. Both in good condition, but the other bush had moved to the middle, so whether it had come loose or not. Anyhow, I sort of looked into it. I had new bushes. The old ones are fine. There's no wear on any of that stuff. So I just put an extra bush in because the other one had moved to the middle. Gave it a little rub with emery paper, got the burrs off it. So now we've got 3 bushes in there. As usual, I'm doing something that you're not supposed to. I can't see that will bite me. There's no oil galleries or anything I've blocked or anyhow. You're not going to like this. Yammer Bond. It's English, it's going to leak. I'm putting Yammer Bond on everything. You don't like it? They told you not to do it, didn't they? Oh well. Yeah, you can tap that in nice and square. More Yammer Bond. It's not going to leak. So, apparently this is important. This is the end float on the Kickstart shaft. It's a nice healthy Kickstart shaft too. I've measured it with feeler gauges. I've measured it in metric because my lathe is in metric. I don't have the shims for this. so I'm actually going to make a shim, but I'll make it the correct size. And because I've sort of looked into this, they say your gears won't select properly if you don't set this up, and they say the clutch will drag. Oh, I can't see why that would happen, but whatever. So it says 5 to 10 thou. I'm going to try and make it 5 thou. So I have put my, so I pulled the shaft out as far as I could. Got my black Sharpie. I've made a mark. I've guessed 2mm. The shaft seems to be staying there, and I just put a scratch on there, and then I push it in, and then I can see where the scratch is, and that will give me, that's 2mm, and that's almost gobbled up the whole 2mm. I reckon I've got 5 thou. With my eyeball I've got 5 thou, so I'm going to make a 2mm spacer. 2mm is 80 thou, that's a fair bit of spacer. You can use the isolactic shims, apparently. I don't have any spare ones, and I don't need any spare ones. I think my isolastics are good. Alright, so that's the next step. We're getting there. Oh, I'm going to Loctite. I saw a guy, he Loctited all these. I think that's a good idea. I'm going to do the same. I'll Loctite that nut as well, and all these internal bolts and the external ones. Why not? Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I like that idea. Righto, on we go. Looking good. Turn that fella off. Probably going to tell you shouldn't do this. So, more Yammer bond. The thread goes all the way through the housing. This is a high rider. It's a show bike. It's not meant to leak. That went in easy. I got the quadrant in neutral. The dude on YouTube wasn't. That's what worried me. His gears were in a different spot. Anyhow, I think I'm going alright. So, I made a second washer. This one was good. I could bolt it all up. Everything moved, but I had no sideway clearance. I didn't know what had happened when that box heats up when it starts getting used. So I took 0.1 of a millimetre off, 4 thou off, and now I've got a little bit of sideways. Beautiful. So interesting to look at the seals. That's the old one I pulled out. This is a really low mileage bike. This has done 9,000 miles, easy miles. That's the old one. Can you see me pushing on the rubber? I'm pushing quite hard on that rubber, and it's not moving. Now my new seal, you see me pushing on the rubber? It moves heaps. There's no real wear on the old one. Just got no give in it. Okay. Yep. So another mistake I've made, I kept trying to hit this bearing home because I could see a gap. See where my pointer is? There's a gap here, and it looked like it hadn't gone all the way home, the bearing, but it sounded like it had. So why that gap's there, because they've taken the seal out, haven't they? And it's got a step in it. And it just looked like it wasn't home. It is home. Okay. The trap. So, I built a new shed. It's my dirty shed. For my polishing. And I christened it today. Did some metal polishing. It's all messy, just like I like it. Got me sanded disc. Waiting for a new tyre to come for my bike. That's what I did. I've done a lot of polishing. Certainly rocker covers, I don't know how many of them I've done, hundreds. I just realised when I was doing the Norton gearbox cover, I don't think I've ever polished a Norton part. I've done hundreds of Triumphs, Boozers, all sorts of weird, and I don't think I've ever done a Norton. Yeah, there you go. The 2 horsepower polisher, linisher. I got die grinders, sanders, I got everything. There you go. There's a cement mixer if I get bored. Okay folks, thanks for coming. And please subscribe. Oh, I've got a sandblaster too. And an oven. That's so I can do my own heads. I can pull valve guides in and out and stuff like that. Okay, see ya.